Kyle Bowen was one of the most authentic people I knew. He was a sick son of a bitch who probably got more ass than me and Will Chamberlain. This is Rachel Myles with Cattywampus Entertainment, and you're listening to Mitch, Please.
Mitch, Please, since 2016. Flying with angels, dancing with devils, caught in between a saint and a rebel. Trying to live my best life, go into it like a WWF fight. And the fans are screaming, they got my back like I'm Willie beaming. So beam me up, Scotty, kicking down doors like I know karate. I got the fuego like Mojave, getting high is my hobby. Mitch, Please, since 2016. Podcast so ill it might catch a body. Can't no one harm me. It would take more than the army to stop Mitch Valentine from doing what he gotta do. He stays on his grind. R.I.P. Joe Rogan. Y'all better know that we coming. We ain't ever running. So turn up the sound and keep it 100. Keep it 100. Mitch Valentine, keep it 100. Keep it 100. Mitch, Please podcast, keep it 100. Mad skills. Yeah, hashtag make dreams happen. Pro Championship Entertainment. At Heartbreaker MV. At PCE since 2015. Yeah, follow your dreams, y'all. Mitch, Please, since 2016.
I thought you knew. And welcome to episode 32 of Mitch, Please. I am Mitch Valentine, and I want to say thank you to Dupre for that badass theme song. I mean, really, is there a better theme song in the history of podcasts than what we have going on for you? I don't think so. But I also want to show love to Rachel Myles for the drop at the start of the show. And I also want to say thank you again to Mike Shoup, who was our guest last month on Mitch, Please, and he's been a guest many times, and he also does all these great graphics for the show. So me and Mike Shoup go way back. One of my best friends. Love the guy. Much love to him. And welcome, guys. Thanks for giving us a click. I really appreciate it. A lot has happened, sadly, since last time I did this show. Of course, in the Butte County area, you guys are all aware of what we're dealing with right now. And, I want to offer my condolences. My heart goes out. Thoughts and prayers. All that stuff is constantly being said, but I don't think it can be said enough. And I just can't believe what's happening to our area here right now. It's, Paradise was my hometown. It's where I spent the majority of my life. God willing, I moved out a couple months ago. My mom moved out a couple months ago, but it's just devastating what's happened. And I'll just share my story of what happened for me that morning. I was working up in Paradise. I was working at Paradise Pawn, actually. I was really enjoying my job. I was working with some great people and selling guns and just learning about guns and just working with, like I said, working with really good people and enjoying my job. But I was scheduled to go to work that morning, and when I woke up and I started seeing stuff on Facebook and hearing about what was going on, I called my boss and I said, "Hey, boss, I don't think I should come in, man. There's fires going on, and it's about 8 a.m, and he's just like, "Oh no, everything's fine," because you don't take it serious, man. You're in your own world and you're just so focused on what you're doing. But I said, boss, I don't think everything's fine, man. And sure enough, a half hour later, he texts me and says, "No, man, don't come to work. I'm getting out of here." And, and Paradise Pawn would burn down along with, 95% of the town. And and you know, God bless everybody that lost loved ones. You know, really, that's, I mean, you know, to lose your house and to lose your business and your car and your stuff, I mean, that sucks and that's horrible. But, you know, something like close to 100 people died, and it's just, it really is a travesty. And I don't want to get too much into it right here. I don't want to get like political and talk about what could have been done to prevent it, because that's a whole nother podcast. And I just don't want to do that. I want to use this right here as an escape from what's going on. So I just want to say, God bless everybody in paradise, everyone that was affected, and much love to everyone that's stepping up and reaching out and helping people right now, because we're all going to need some help for a while. So moving on from that, guys, I do have a great show for you today. I want to share another story with you before I cut over here to Kyle Bowen, who is my guest today. And, you know, I had stopped doing this show last year. I decided at 30 episodes, I'm turning 30, I'm going to go ahead and step away from podcasting. And I was okay with it. And then I started seeing the news and the posts from Kyle back in, whatever it was, October. And I started seeing that he was going to die. You know, he had health problems and he had heart problems, and he was basically letting everybody know, hey, I'm going to die. And, you know, I didn't really know Kyle that well. I've had maybe four, you know, at that point, you know, I had 4 or 5 maybe conversations with him, and always helpful though. Like, he always gave me really good advice over at the Maltese when we would do open mics and stuff, and he'd give me great advice. And, you know, I just didn't really know him. But anyways, he reached out to me, which was crazy. Like, he messaged me and he's like, hey man, I want to do your podcast. And I was like, oh man, I'm not really doing my podcast anymore, but I guess I am now. So, I mean, really, you know, the inspiration to bring this show back, you know, last month I had Mike Shoup come back on the show because he was my first guest and I wanted to come back with him. But I knew, before that, I had already interviewed Kyle. I knew the reason this podcast was coming back, and that is because of Kyle Bowen. So Kyle Bowen is the inspiration to bring this thing back. He's on the show today. He's sharing his story. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever done something like this where I'm literally interviewing a guy that knows he's about to die. I've never seen somebody so okay with it, too. He was so okay with it. He did pass away a few weeks ago, and I wanted to get his story out here now, so he can live on. Because, I mean, that's what he wants to do. You know, he wants to live on through his art. And I'm not gonna babble on any longer, guys. Let's just cut over right now to Kyle Bowen. We are coming to you live from the Haven, room 109. I am Mitch Valentine, alongside my guest here on Mitch Please. He's a gentleman that I've known just for about 4 or 5 years. He's been around. He's not going to be around much longer, unfortunately. But I'm very honored to welcome to the show at this time, Kyle Bowen.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to Mitch Please. This is Kyle. Thanks.
Kyle, man. So let's talk about it, man. You're gonna die, bro.
Yeah.
Like, this is a first for this podcast. Like, I've never interviewed somebody that is literally on their deathbed.
I am literally on my final bed at the Haven Inn in Chico, and I asked Mitch to get down here and we never had our interview, so let's have that interview. Let me tell you what you want to hear, and I might even be able to spit a bit or two at you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, it means a lot to me personally, Kyle, that you messaged me and wanted to be on the show. I haven't done the show in a year. I'm doing it now. I'm doing it with you. I'm very just like privileged, man, to do this and excited. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about Kyle Bowen, man. So obviously, you've been around for a while. What was life like growing up?
Oh, I grew up in the 60s, so I spent much of my childhood half naked in a muddy creek trying to pull carp out of the creek that I didn't need but wouldn't leave without. And that's the kind I had like that Tom Sawyer kind of bullshit go up being. Who's there?
Well, we have an impromptu guest on Mitch Please at the door. The door is open.
Hi.
And here we go.
Hi, Lee. Come in. We're just doing an interview.
We got a live interview going on. We've got a live audience.
Yeah.
History is being made here on Mitch Please. Kyle, where'd you grow up?
I was born in Salt Lake City, but we moved before my memories to Merced, California, and that's where I grew up. And then as soon as I could legally leave, I got what we in the old country call the hell out of there and moved to the Bay Area. Then I was a DJ at a top 40 radio station for several years.
Well, hold on. Let's back up just a hair. Yeah. So, who were some of some of the celebrities or somebody in general that just inspired you at an early age?
Well, as a youngster, the first guys to really get me were the Smothers Brothers. And probably none of your listeners even know who the hell they are. But they had like a very irreverent TV show on CBS. It was anti-Vietnam War at a time when nobody was anti-Vietnam War. And they're both still around, Tom and Dick Smothers. And they did a folk music act, but it was always comedy folk music. And I loved them. And at that age, it was just pretty much whoever the comedians were around. I was never a big Red Skelton fan. But as we got into the 70s, then I started identifying the guys that I thought, yeah, he's the guy. And the first one of those I said, yeah, he's the guy to, was George Carlin. Mm-hmm. And then later it was Richard Pryor. I realized this is the best stand-up that's ever walked the face of the earth. And I still think that. And then a bit later on after that, Sam Kinison, who I think was an absolutely unique talent, and I'm so glad we had on this earth for a while. So that's my comedy godhead, those three guys.
Yeah, and we're talking growing up in the 60s, transitioning into the 70s. You said your first big job, was a DJ?
I was a DJ at a top 40 radio station. I wanted to be funny. Like most top 40 DJs, I wasn't as funny as I thought I was, but I got there. And it helped me to develop my chops talking to people, even if there was nobody in the room but me, but there's still, a couple thousand people listening. And then I started to do live appearances. I'd occasionally do improv and occasionally do stand-up, and again, cutting my chops, basically.
And where was this at?
This was mostly in Merced area.
Merced, okay.
I was not going to break out big from there at any point. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're talking radio, talking being on the radio as a DJ. Let's sidetrack from comedy just for a second. Music, man. What kind of music? Because Led Zeppelin's one of my favorite bands. Okay. One of the most well-known bands in the 70s. I know that's kind of cliche, but I love them. But for you, what kind of music were you into?
You're about to have a unique answer to that question you've never heard before.
All right, let's hear it.
My shorthand, what kind of music do you like, Kyle? I don't like music. The lady that just stepped in, that's true. The lady that just stepped in is my composer. That's what she does. She composes and plays piano. She's written some things I like. And I actually used her music for a TV show not long ago. But it's much easier to find out what I don't like than what I do. I'm not a fan of Zeppelin. I appreciate them because they kept rock and roll alive during the Dread Disco era. And so did Queen, which I actually like better. So, I'm not really a music guy. And what music I do like, you've almost certainly never heard of them. So, except for the exception of Tom Waits.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Let's talk about comedy. You said you started doing some improv.
Yeah, improv back in the 80s. Yeah.
Okay, and how was that experience?
I don't really like improv that much either, but it was where I could cut my chops, so I did as much as I could. And we had a group, actually, it was called Captain Dudley's Emergency Theater, and we did a few gigs that they paid us $20 in total.
That's pretty good for the 70s.
Yeah, well, I was 80s, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we made a buck or two, but we were never going to make a living off of it.
Right.
And and then...
How old were you at this point?
I was, I would have been 22-ish to 25-ish in that area. Yeah.
So we're in your 20s in the 80s. So you're in your 20s and your 80s. I'm following you. Yeah. Now, but just going back a little bit again, like Did you have any earlier dreams, like anything that kind of crazy that you wanted to do outside of the entertainment business?
Well, it's not really outside, but the one thing I've always considered myself first and foremost is a writer. And I write all kinds of things. In fact, right now, a lot of my short stories are being compiled by this woman right here in my nonfiction to throw together for a book before I die, hopefully. But I'm primarily a writer, and most of that writing is not comedy. Most of it is serious stuff or epic stuff even, and things like that. But that's what I primarily am. But I'm also a performance writer, so I know how to get on stage and the mic and throw those pieces that need to be done live. So
let's talk about live. Let's talk about live stand-up comedy.
Yes, sir.
The first time you ever got on stage with a microphone and performed stand-up comedy, man, take me through that.
I would have been in high school. I was in the speech class. See you later, dear. I got people coming in and out. Sorry, listeners in podcast land. But they're all good people. And hello, Leah again. But the first time I was in high school, I was in the speech class, so I did debate. But they also had a thing called humorous interpretation, where you would take somebody else's writing, and I'd take somebody like Neil Simon or Mel Brooks's writing or somebody like that, and then I would just do it as a spoken word piece for the tournament, whatever we're doing with the speech class. So that's really my first closest thing to stand-up writing. I can even remember just the beginning of a bit by a guy named Max Schulman, who used to be the head writer for a show called Dobie Gillis, which was a big show in like the early 60s. Then it was a separate thing, and I just remember first it was all one-liners he threw together into a story, which is let's see. I was born in a little town called Indian Head. It's on the other side of Buffalo. I told you these are old jokes. At the age of 2, I was left an orphan. At the age of 2, what was I going to do with an orphan? It was also at the age of 2, I lost my parents. That was a hell of a crap game. So, and that just goes on and on like that. But that was the kind of thing that I used to do, yeah.
Yeah, so your first stand-up performance was in high school, like in front of your classmates. I mean, take me through that. How'd that feel, man? Because I know how I feel before I get on stage. I'm a mess, anxiety, everything. But for you, how was it?
I've never been stage shy. I've always been comfortable in talking in front of people. I've always been and studying the audiences, which to me is important, so that you throw the right piece at them, you throw the right pace at them, and you throw the right joke at them. Because you can tell sometimes that you're not hitting them if you're paying attention, and then you can alter it a bit so that you can get their attention better and get them into it. So I've always been comfortable on a stage. I've always been comfortable on a mic, and I know a lot of people aren't, and I'm sorry for y'all, but it's just how it goes. In fact, one thing I will say, I've been deathly ill with a heart condition, which is what's taken me, and probably will very soon. But when I get on stage, which I did 3 weeks ago now, when I'm on stage, the performance adrenaline kicks in. Yeah. Best painkiller in the world. Yeah. I absolutely feel no pain when I am performing, and I feel actually excellent. But the moment I'm off that stage, that pain comes piling back on. Yeah. But when I'm on that stage, I'm the healthiest dude you know.
I can relate to that a lot. I'm sure a lot of people that perform can relate to that. Because, like, for me, I'm a mess. Like, I mean, real anxiety, nervous sometimes, especially if it's a new venue or a big crowd or whatever. But then when I get up there, I'm fine for the most part. So I totally get what you're saying. But you're fine the whole time. You're just like, yep, I'm going to go up there. I'm cool, not nervous at all. No butterflies.
Better when I get up there. Piece of advice, can I speak freely or are words restricted at all?
You can say whatever you want.
Don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. Just do it. I'm serious. You can kick that into your head, you're golden.
Yeah. Okay. That's great advice.
Pay attention, go where they need you to go, but if they hate you, come on, hate me, I don't care. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got you. Cool. So let's talk about the 80s. So you start doing improv, and you start doing stand-up comedy. Were you still in Merced doing this? Or?
No. When I got out of now real life kicks in. Okay, I get a wife and a kid. My kid turns out to be incredibly handicapped, like in the hospital for 6 months handicapped. And I knew that I could not do this on a $600 a month DJ salary, which is also a job that you are going to be fired from. It's not a maybe, it's a will be, and you just don't know when it is. And then a friend of the family who was in the mortuary business suggested I just check out involving colleges, and because nobody wants a job and it pays well and it's stable. I could work. I'll get six job offers coming out of school, and he was right about all of it. So I went and checked out the San Francisco College Mortuary Science, decided I could do this, decided it's how I'm getting through the next decade or so, and that's what I did, and I became a mortician. And a few years after that, I became a master embalmer, and did that gig.
Oh, what? Say that last one.
I'm a master. I had apprentices. And people that were under my direct signature for what work they did, and whose work I had to check out every day. And I actually taught them how to do like stuff that legally they didn't need me for. Like every time you cut into a body, you got to have a guy with a license. That's me.
Oh, okay.
Every time you put something into or out of a body, you got to have a license. But they could do makeup, and they could dress them, and they could put them in the casket. But I had to train them how to do that, and I had to make sure they did it right. So of the 20,000 cases through that period, I checked out every one of them and sent more than a few back to fix. So, yeah.
That's a hell of a career choice.
A real job. But this also made me now, because later, when I'm not physically able to do that job and actually kind of tired of it, now I'm the mortician, comedian, storyteller.
Right.
Which means nobody else does what I do. I tell stories about mortuaries. I do faux autopsies on stage for audiences. Who else is going to do that? And what's more, on Facebook, if you go to my Facebook page, Kyle Bowen, you can find me there. I am now taking a growing number of people along with me on the ride as I smile my way toward death. And I think it's a unique and I hope educational and I hope often hilarious journey there. So I do want to mention, anybody wants to get on that, just follow me on Facebook and join in with the rest of us.
It's unlike anything I've ever seen. I'm 30 years old. I've been on Facebook for whatever, a decade or whatever, and to see somebody just basically, hey, I'm dying, I'm cool with it, and I just, I want to do what I want to do and say what I want to say while I'm still here, and see who I can see, and it's just it's cool, man. It's the way that I think people should go out, really.
And I think so too, and I think I am, as I said, because of my history, I'm in a unique position to do so.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Don't be afraid of this, people. Come along with us, and if you have to bail out, I understand. But seriously, we're going to make it a fun ride. And especially since I'm out of the crappy nursing home I just got out of, it's going to be a good ride.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so let's talk about you're working with dead bodies. You're in the 80s. You're working with dead bodies, but you're still pursuing comedy.
Yeah, I'm now doing comedy.
How's that going? When's your breaks happening? Who are you meeting? Where are you going? What are you doing?
What it started out with was slam poetry, because that was the thing I could do in the year 2000 in San Jose, where I found myself working.
So now we're in 2000. So we're jumping past the 90s.
90s, I've been working in San Mateo as a mortician.
Okay.
I've been carousing since I got divorced. I've been meeting flight attendants and strippers, which is a very fun time that we can talk about if you want, but it's really none of your business. And that was the fun. Yeah, that was my wild period.
Okay.
And it was fun. I'd do it again. And but then I got to San Jose, a new job. This is the big job that I would do embalm 1,000 cases a year, and just be constantly busy doing that. And then I found a place where they're doing slam poetry, which at the time I didn't even know what the hell it was. And I realized a lot of the stuff I've written is slam poetry.
Okay.
But I didn't even know what that was until that moment. So I got into that scene, and that hooked me up to the slam poetry finals, which I found myself competing for. And then I'm getting in, they have what they call in slam, slamly, so that there's people in slam become your family automatically. And I ended up living with a bunch of them, and my little brother, Mighty Mike McGee, who's currently the poet laureate of Santa Clara County, and used to be the national slam champion and the world slam champion, the best in the world in both, both of the things. and he became my dear brother, and he's going to come back up and see me soon. But that's where I started getting my chops really performing all the time, and most of the stuff I did was funny, and of course it was all original because it was my poetry. And then I started to expand it to more comedy-ish stuff, which I'd done before, but now I'm really working on because I got all kinds of bits, ideas, which I now have. I could actually stand up right now if I was healthy enough and give you 3 hours of A material. I got that much built up.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's three specials.
Oh yeah.
And I could easily do 3 hours of A material if I had the health to do it. So, go ahead. No, you please go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so in the 2000s, I mean, this is pretty recent. This is my era.
Yeah.
So the 2000s, you're living in San Jose. You're doing your slam poetry. You're starting to do shows. Maybe get booked, get paid to do shows. Maybe meet some people.
Yeah, money's happening. CDs are getting recorded and sold. I'm on MP3.com, making a little money off of them. Starting to rub shoulders with some bigger wigs every time. Like the last time I ended up opening for, not the last time, but just randomly I ended up opening for Margaret Choi, which I didn't expect to happen, but did.
Wow.
And she was going to show up and do a set. I guess I'm opening for you. Okay, cool.
Now this is recent though.
This is reasonably recent.
Let me ask you this: when was the first time when you started doing shows, like bigger shows, getting paid? Getting your picture on the flyer, right?
Yeah,
that's always a big deal for me. I thought it was when my first picture's on the flyer.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm making it. What about for you? When did you feel like, hey man, I'm actually doing some things right now in comedy?
There came a time when it was, if I'm supporting your show specifically because I like you, you can downgrade me. I'll do it. I'll be the opener. But if you actually want me to perform for you and be like a feature or a headliner, first of all, I prefer to do the headliner because I think I'm in that category.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of money that has to cross my palm now. And I'm sorry, I might love you, but if that ain't crossing my palm, I'm not doing the show. Because this is what I'm worth, minimum, and I'm almost certainly giving you a deal. So I've been on that stage for about the last 5 years, which is why nobody's seen me perform in Chico for the last 5 years. Because it's like, they'll say, Kyle, can you come do this show? What are you going to pay me? And no, and not for that I won't.
Oh no, I understand. It's not a friends. They say this in wrestling. It's not friendsness.
Yeah.
It's business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the business, when was the first time, like maybe you worked with a big name, maybe your picture was on the poster, you got the $500? When did you feel like it was like your first big break?
The first guy I felt like I was really in show business with was Jamie DeWolf, who I know you've heard of him.
The name sounds familiar.
And many people have. He's most famous right now for his monthly show in Oakland called Tourette's Without Regrets.
Okay, absolutely.
At the Oakland Metro Opera House.
Yep.
And let me put it this way. If there was an official embalmer for Tourette's Without Regrets, it would be me. And what's more, and I've talked to Jamie about this, they are going to have a tribute to me on the first show after I die. So, and I'll even tell you what I especially requested. Mighty Mike McGee, who I mentioned earlier, who's the sweetest, nicest, chubby guy. He's just a sweetheart. But he's a chubby guy with a long beard. He wrote me a poem specifically because he knew I'd be able to read it before I die, but it was basically my goodbye poem. And I asked Mike McGee to read that poem at Tourette's Without Regrets, which is 1,200 to 2,000 people, and always a raucous crowd. But to read that poem on stage at Tourette's while stripping. And I found out soon after that A, he would do it, and B, if you didn't ask him to do it, he would do it anyway. Because he wants to do it now.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so Mike McGee
What a tribute.
Mike McGee is going to be telling you a pretty damn good poem and taking his clothes off for you. First Tourette's Without Regrets in Oakland after I die, which is probably going to be the November one, which is the first Thursday of every month. But it might be the next month, so we'll see. see how I
Man,
hold on.
you look pretty good to me, man. You're you know what I mean? Who knows?
I can feel the machinery winding down, so this last week or so took a toll on me. But, and I actually hope I'm cogent enough to be understood most of the time. But I'm doing my best.
Hey, you sound great. So cool, man. So it seems like a lot of your fondest memories, especially recently, seem to be in Oakland at the...
Well, yeah. Oakland pays me. I get paid in San Francisco. I get paid in Sacramento. Just did the Sacramento Horror Film Festival. Again, made perfect for the Mortician Storyteller. Mm-hmm. That's a perfect show for me. And those people have been so supportive of me. It's unbelievable. I love all of those. There's thousands of them involved, and we're also like family. So, yeah, that's wonderful. One thing that I didn't directly do it with him, but I was the next act, the next night on stage at the Great American Music Hall. The night after, Robin Williams recorded his last special at the Great American Music Hall. So the next night, the mic he was on was the mic I was on and the stage he was on. And that's mind-blowing shit right there.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, I remember... I love Robin Williams. Yeah. Love him. As a kid, I loved everything he did. My mom saw him in the 80s in San Francisco do comedy. Yeah. Aladdin, I mean, Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, you can go on and on and on and on.
The movies I loved are ones you probably never mentioned. I'm a World According to Garp guy.
Okay, I haven't seen
that. That was, I think, his first or second movie.
Okay, I'll have to check
it out. It's kind of done seriously, but I love the author, too, so that helps. And I actually really, really, really liked Popeye. I thought it was a damn good movie, even though they ran out of money.
Yeah.
Toward the end.
Yeah, and you know, it's just, he was on Law & Order SVU and did a great job as this character, this crazy character. And just going back, so I remember the day Robin Williams died. Yeah. It was a Monday.
Yes, it was.
And I'm pretty sure we were hanging out at the Maltese.
We were at the Maltese, yes.
I'm pretty sure we got on the Beeline and had an awkward bus ride to the Maltese, and then we got off, and then I remember everyone was... We were just kind of like doing a little tribute to him. Maybe we did a little. I can't remember. Everyone, there was just this feeling in the air, like, man, we just lost one of the greatest comedians of all time, and I'll never forget that, man. A lot of nights at the Maltese, you know, when I started in comedy, you know, just sitting out back on the patio and just talking with you, you know, a handful of times. You'd always be sitting out there smoking a cigarette, and people would just come up to you and sit down next to you and ask you for advice, and you'd always be real blunt, real honest.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mitch, and I hope that you like this. If I thought you were worth it, even if you weren't yet, but I thought you could be, I would give you advice. I'd even help you write the bit so it works better, and I'd tell you, don't do it this way, do it this way. If I thought there was no hope for you, I'd brush you off. I got no time for you. So even if you thought I thought you were horrible, if I ever gave you advice, that means I thought you could do it. Okay? That's what that means.
Well, I wish I would have done some more writing sessions in general, and with you, and maybe we could do some writing sessions if you have time. I know you got a lot of people coming to see you, man.
I got a lot of people coming to see me. I'm a popular guy at the moment, and that's fantastic.
No,
but yeah, and then
there's a reason for that, by the way.
I kind of immediately knew why, and this is actually a pet peeve of mine. It's nothing to do with me. That's all Robin Williams. It bothered me how people have couched. My phone's ringing. Let's see who I don't want to talk to.
That's right. Oh, you got it.
Maybe somebody important.
You got a live call in here on Mitch, please.
I gotta. If it's professional medical people, I gotta let them know. Hello, 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 hello.
It's 24 hours later. We're still here at the Haven with my guest here, Kyle Bowen. Kyle, you had to take care of some business, man. We're back, though, and we're talking about Robin Williams, and you wanted to tell me about his tribute show.
Yeah, there was it was an art tribute. There's a guy that runs art shows in San Francisco, Ezra Croft, and they're all gigantic. Some of them are huge, gigantic, like, you know, tens of thousands of people. And he had one he was doing for Robin Williams, and I ended up excuse my cough, I'm dying, people cut me some slack, and I ended up being a performer there along with Don Ashby and other people I know that you guys probably don't know or are not locals, but it was in San Francisco at the Project Works. And that was a great honor to me to be able to do this show. And there's paintings of Robin Williams by everybody all over the place. And then we did performances especially dedicated to him. And I was able to do 10 minutes on that stage. And that's one of the highlights of my life, was being able to do that for him.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Don Ashby was, he's been on this show, and I had no idea that you guys did that. Like, 10 minutes, so you did 10 minutes, Don did 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you feel your guys' performances were representing Chico? I mean, that's awesome.
Well, I think we represented well. Don did very good material, except he was up before me, and so I had a little advantage, actually a huge advantage, in that the sound guy was not doing his job, and the management didn't really care if anybody heard us, and I basically had to go beat the sound guy, kick the sound guy's ass to get Don's sound game up.
Yeah.
Because Don's a somewhat quieter performer than I am most of the time.
Yeah.
And I tend to scream and yell and make you listen to me.
Yeah.
And so I really got on the sound, and then the host got on and was like, turn the damn sound up, because half the building couldn't hear him. And that was like, he was getting killed by people talking that just couldn't hear him anyway. And so he got beat by that, although his material was smack on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
we got ourselves an impromptu guest on Mitch Please. Let's bring him on in. Oh, the nurse is here. We'll be right back. 24 hours have passed again, and we're back. We actually both just finished pooping. And Kyle, that was good shit, by the way.
Eventful shit, yes, it was.
I want to ask you, what were some of your favorite, memorable, fun moments that you've done, that you've been a part of in comedy?
Aside from the pooping? Well, there's been a few shows I've done that I'm very happy I did. Probably what I consider my crowning achievement was doing Oddville, which is an Ezra Croft production, which is basically an art show, but a huge crowd, thousands of people, and it was one of those I had them.
Where was this at?
This was in Oakland at the Steelworks, I think it was called, a great big little warehouse. Lots and lots, thousands and thousands of people.
Awesome.
That was fun. I don't really have a one favorite fun, but there's ones that have been fun in different ways. And I mentioned this to you, and I mentioned this to other comedy people. When a comedian is done, or a performer is done, and you ask how'd the show go, and they say it was fun, that means it was a failure. Because nobody gives a crap if the comedian has fun. That is not the performer's job. The performer's job is to make the people watching him have fun. So the answer to the question, if it was a good show, how was the show? It was good is the right answer. It was fun means you failed. Or maybe it was fun, but nobody cares it was fun for you. Absolutely nobody, and that's not your job. A couple other shows that I'm quite memorable. I've done a couple of shows called Kiss, Kill, Consume, which I tend to end up being more or less the headliner of. And those are about exactly that. They're about murder and mayhem and like that. And because I'm actually one of the few humans at that event that actually has some experience with those subjects, I tend to get monopolized toward the end of the show. Because nobody else actually can answer a lot of questions, and I can.
What's the basis of the show?
The basis of Kiss, Kill, Consume is basically just about murder, particularly about serial murders or mass murdering.
Okay.
And again, I've seen those things. I've dealt with those things. So I'm the guy they usually use, and I usually try to make it funny, which is often quite doable. So that's something I bring uniquely pretty much in all of comedy, because I'm the mortician, storyteller, comedian. Let's look at bad shows. Well, the really bad shows are like that open mic that you're trying to kickstart in town, and you got the 6 drunks that don't give a fuck. When you're trying to make them laugh and they just want to get their drink on and hit on the lounge lizard and take her home. And that's really their only goal that night. when you can get them, it's kind of cool. When you can get them into you. Here's an example from ages ago. I'm not going to have a lot of poetry slam people listening to this, I'm sure. But I kind of cut my teeth performing on how to actually perform as opposed to just talk doing slam poetry. And one of the big slams in the Bay Area was the Berkeley Poetry Slam. And I did that for many years on and off. And pardon me, folks, for sounding exhausted, but the only reason I do is because I'm exhausted. And we had a show at Berkeley, and there was always like the poetry groups, which were college and even high school age kids, and just enthusiastic poetry types. And then off to the side, because it was an Irish pub, would be an Irish, it was soccer team, football team, and they were in to watch sports and get drunk after the game and raise hell and curse at people. And I made it my goal every time I got on stage to just not worry about the poetry people. Like, if they liked me, they liked me. If they didn't, they didn't. But they were there for what I was doing or what other people were doing. But the soccer guys weren't.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured that was my audience, the soccer guys.
Right.
And that's who I played to. And after the first few times I did it, they thought I was the cool one. And they actually stopped what they were drinking in the game and started paying attention to me. And that was a lousy circumstance going into it, but I tried to turn lousy circumstances into successes. And getting them was one of my favorite things I ever did, so that after the show, almost all the poets would hate the soccer guys. In fact, they wanted to fight the soccer guys. And because I was a poet, I would convince them that no, you don't want to fight the soccer guys. You're poets. They will beat the concrete with you. And
They'll kick the shit out of you?
They will indeed. And poets can have great words, but that doesn't beat concrete to the teeth. And I eventually calmed everybody down. But there were some poets that really wanted to fight him. And, Kyle, come join us. No, I like these guys.
What kind of advice would you give, and I've seen you do it, I've been a recipient of it, lots of people have, but maybe somebody that's listening that hasn't. Okay. What kind of feedback, what kind of advice would you give an aspiring comedian?
Don't be a comedian.
Okay.
That is the first and foremost advice. There's no easy road. If you are not convinced you're good, if you are not determined to make it, it's never going to be more than a hobby. Because it's a hard road to succeed at. I consider myself successful and I ain't making much money. I consider other people to be successful, and everybody I know, with one exception in the business, has a day job. So that's the first advice. If you're going to ignore that, then go for broke. Cut off all ties to whatever you're doing. Spend all the time you can concentrating on writing. Comedians' first job is to write. That is primarily what they are. They are writers. So write. If you need help writing, find somebody to write with. If you need help editing, find somebody willing to do it for you. Constantly improve jokes. Constantly go back and get them up to snuff. Little tidbits that help, especially if you're working a huge or otherwise non-receptive crowd. It's what I call the 7-second laughs. That's good to have. These are just right off the bat. You get on stage, you say something that's funny. Now, I will give you 2 examples that I always use, so that way you can't steal the rest of them. Sometimes if I have a huge crowd or an uninterested crowd, I will just go on stage after I'm announced, grab the mic, and say, walking down the street the other day, homeless guy calls out, "Jesus loves you," and I will shout back, "Sure, we exchanged fluids back in the 80s, but I wouldn't call it love." That's a 7-second laugh. You can usually get them with that. And once you have them, then you can play with them. Then you can set up bits and take your time. The other one, which is more of a 9-second laugh, which is my absolute favorite, and if you're still this and I'm dead, I'm going to haunt you, that I hate that they banned single-use plastic grocery bags. I love these bags. I use these bags all the time. I want them back. In fact, if you look at the bottom of them, they have instructions. They call it a warning, but I know instructions when I see them. There are instructions on how to use these to suffocate a small child. So that's 2 uses right there. And that's why I always keep one with me, because I'm dating a single mother. That's a 9-second laugh. And once I have them with that, I can do whatever material I want with them. But you have to grab them first. Just make them pay attention to you. And some people do that by yakka or jumping up and down or whatever they do. But I do it that way.
Gotcha, man. I was going to ask you, it seems like you might have answered the question already, what some of your favorite jokes of all time are, some of your favorite things that you talk about on stage in general. Sorry about that noise there. Thought I turned this off. There we go.
Okay.
So yeah, I was going to ask you in general what some of your favorite jokes were. Seems like you might have answered that. Do you have anything else to elaborate on there?
I have some favorite jokes. There's bits I do that are basically from life, which most bits are from life. There's our neighbors coming by. Hello, neighbors.
Hello.
And that's fine. They can walk by. We're outside front of my room here doing this. No, I have other favorite joke topics, some of which constantly come up in my life, which is why they became joke topics. One of them is people greeting you, like waitresses and store clerks and people like that, that say a variant or exactly these words of "How are you today?" I'm not going to do the whole bit, but I'll give you the gist. None of your goddamn business is the correct answer to that question. That is a very personal question. It is in fact none of your business. I am not your friend or family member. I know what you really do is greeting me to this your place. I appreciate that, but we have words for greeting, and they include greeting and welcome and hello, which all work perfectly well. Don't say how I'm doing. That's a personal fucking question. Don't ask it of me. And I have about 10 minutes on that, so
let's talk about how you're doing.
Yeah.
let's talk about your condition, Kyle.
Right.
What is going on?
All right, I am terminally ill. I'm inoperable, and the things that are inoperable that matter right now are my heart and my kidneys. They are racing each other to kill me. My heart, I've had cardiologists tell me that it's amazing that you're alive now. I've had them tell me that 2 weeks ago. I am taking no medication at this time for my heart or my kidneys.
Wow.
Because we just gave up on it. And also the heart medicine destroys the kidneys and the kidney medicine destroys the heart. So one of them is going to go maybe before we're done talking. And I never know when. It could be in 5 minutes, it can be in a few more weeks. But if the heart goes, it will be a quick death. It will be, in fact, I probably won't even know about it. I'll just, boom, and that's it, done. If the kidneys go, I got like a half an hour of some nasty pain, and then I go. Obviously, we're rooting for the heart. If you like to root for internal organs, everybody do a yay go heart, because that's what we want.
Go heart, man.
Yeah, we want that fucker to kick out before the kidneys, because I don't need that pain. I do have some morphine for that time. I'm saving it for that. So my nurses are actually trying to get me to use it earlier when I had some problems, but I'm not ready to go to morphine yet. But that's the shorthand, and it's after years of abuse and being a middle-aged white American male and all that stuff that is fatal, and lots of ribs and corned beef. So it's it's the road you're signing up for when you eat and smoke and drink occasionally. And I'm hit the end of it, and I'm okay. It's cool. Death is not something to be afraid of.
And I gotta say, I said at the beginning of this interview just how it's just amazing it is to see how calm, cool, collected. I know those are cliche words, but they describe you in your final days here, and you're just so great to be around, man. Really, like, you're really, like, just everyone that I've seen come by, we all are having a good time with you. You're having a good time. I mean, as good a time as you can.
I'm having a great time. You know how many family members I've grown in the last 3-4 weeks? You know, I have no actual family in Chico. But on a regular basis now, I'm meeting somebody for the first time that knew me from somebody that knew me, wanted to come help, who within a day or less are now my family member. Sure, one of them, obviously.
Feel free to shout out whoever you want, Kyle. This is your time.
I'm going to miss people if I do that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave anybody out, but I can't even tell the vague story there because people will figure out who it is and they can't get her in trouble. But somebody who works in a medical institution here, who's not supposed to do this, saw my plight at that medical institution, and the next day found my Facebook page and hunted me down and said, look, I want to do a few hours a day with you because I know you need somebody all the time. Do you mind if I do that? And I actually discussed it with this person and said, you know, I know what you're doing and I greatly appreciate it. You know this is dangerous for you because you're not separating personal from your professional. But I'm not going to say no to you because I need you and I believe you're sincere. And she goes, it's okay. I know this is not something to make a habit of. I go, don't let it be a habit because it can suck you dry if you stretch yourself too thin. But she's coming in today, I think, too. And she's family now. Didn't even know who she was a few days ago.
Yeah. Kyle, we're gonna wrap up here. I want to make sure you're comfortable. Do you want to go back in the room before we finish up here?
I'm gonna have another cigarette, and Mitch is concerned for his health, so I can't have it near him. So I'm actually looking at the cigarettes, hoping we will finish our interview, so I can have another one.
All right, let's finish our interview, if that's okay.
All right.
Okay, I just want to say this. I want to say thank you for everything.
Thank you.
I want to, I just want to give you the floor, and I just want you to anything you want to plug, any videos you want to direct people to. We just read your article in the Chico News and Review this morning. It's a great article. You have a GoFundMe. The floor is yours, Kyle. Anything you want to say, anything you want to plug, it's all you.
Let's plug all those fun things. I don't know how to find GoFundMe, but I think it's GoFundMe Kyle Bowen will get you there, I'm sure. We're trending on GoFundMe right now for various wonderful reasons. But our donations have slowed down. And while we should have enough, we actually haven't reached our goal. And we could use more because there's always something else poking its head up. So please, if you're on Facebook or GoFundMe or the internet, go find it. At the very least, please share it so that other people are aware of it if you got no cash. A couple other things I want to plug. Again, he just mentioned the Chico News and Review interview. It's not much there, but it'll give you a gist of what I'm going through. Coming up is a Tourette's Without Regrets tribute. I also want to give a big shout out to the people at the National Public Radio show, Snap Judgment. And Inlow Hospital was great. The staff there was wonderful. I'm going to do an anti-shout out now. Twin Oaks Skilled Nursing Facility can be prepared for bad words. Go fuck themselves. It's an evil fucking institution. I do not blame the staff who are doing their best, but they're not given the tools to do it right. But I do blame Mark, the operations manager. And if you want to cuss out somebody and you don't know who to cuss out, call up Twin Oaks Nursing Facility, ask for Mark, the operations manager, and tell him to stick a sofa up his ass for being a prick. Every encounter I had with him, he was an absolute prick when he did not have to be. And as far as I'm concerned, he can die a horrible, nasty death on a garbage heap somewhere. Is that bitter enough?
That's pretty negative. Okay. I definitely want to end on a positive note. Right. So you want to smoke a cigarette, right?
Do it with a lubed couch, then. So it'll be a positive. Yeah.
So you want to smoke a cigarette? Would you have any final words, advice for people that are smoking, drinking, maybe eating bad? I mean, anything you want to share?
Enjoy the fuck out of yourself. Do what you want to do, dude. You're gonna die anyway. Might as well die when you're young and reasonably good looking. That's my advice to you.
All right, Kyle Bowen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mitch. You have a great day.
What a guy and what a message. Kyle Bowen, my friend, may you rest in peace and know that you will never be forgotten. And I wanted to share my experience that I had with Kyle with you guys during those last few weeks. You know, I had went over there to Kyle's motel, and my plan was to interview him, and, you know, the interview took 3 days. He was very busy. Nurses were coming in and out. People were calling. Things were going on, and I had no problem going back there. And then I just ended up spending a couple weeks on and off, hanging out with Kyle, helping him out. And it was such a privilege, really, and an honor to do so. Kyle was incredibly kind. He was incredibly funny. I mean, he had all the nurses and everybody laughing this whole time. Like I said, he was so okay with everything and so at peace and so calm. And I just really admire Kyle for that and respect him for everything he's done. And you guys that are listening to this, hopefully you guys are friends and family of Kyle, and you guys know him a whole lot better than I did and I do. And feel free to share your stories and your comments about Kyle, in the comments here. This show is about Kyle Bowen. That's like I said, the inspiration for bringing back this podcast. And I just, I don't know. I don't know what else to say, guys. Kyle Bowen was and is a really great man, and you just had to get to know him, because people will have other stories about him, I'm sure, but I feel like I got to know Kyle a little bit during those last couple weeks, spending some time with him, and yeah, I'm very thankful and grateful for that opportunity. So thank you, Kyle Bowen. So all right, guys, this has been a very emotional episode, I think, of Mitch Please, with everything that's happening, and of course Kyle Bowen being our guest. But I do want to talk about what I've been doing personally, just to update you guys on me. This is Mitch Please. I wanted to share about the Pro Championship Entertainment event that I was able to do last month in Oroville. It was a great show. All the comedians brought it, and the crowd was good. Never as good as I want it to be, but the Spirit venue is a great venue, and I want to say thank you to them and to everybody that came out to PCE stand-up comedy back in November. I've been able to go to Sacramento and do some stand-up at the Laughs Unlimited, and that was the first time in Sacramento. First time at a comedy club, a real comedy club doing comedy. It was amazing, and thank you to Ellis Rodriguez for that opportunity. Myself and Dylan Collins, man, we've been getting in the car and traveling around a little bit, man. We hit up Redding, we hit up Sacramento. I really like Dylan Collins, man. He's a young kid in the Chico comedy scene that's hungry and wants it and puts in the work. So shout out to Dylan. Also, just want to tell you guys, my next event, I've really been just kind of reeling back on these comedy shows a little bit. I did want to share that I was able to do comedy for a cause at the Maltese for the campfire victims. All donations and proceeds from the show went to the campfire victims, and that was cool. That was cool. Jesse Clark put that on, and that was another great honor to be a part of, and I had a good time. And I am going to be in Sacramento on December 23rd at the Punchline, which is one of the most famous comedy venues, in the North State. And it's just mind-blowing to me that I'm going to be performing there. And, I am really proud of everything I've done in stand-up comedy in the short amount of time really I've been doing it. Maybe I've been on stage, maybe 50, 60 times. And it's just amazing what I've been able to do. And I gotta stop saying I drive myself crazy on this show when I say but no, I want to tell you guys, like, I'm kind of in a very transitional phase of my life right now where, like, I'm going to be going back to school in January, first time in a decade. I'm going back to school, I'm going to go to Butte College, and looks like I'm going to be pursuing communications because the dream is still, and really always has been since I was about 14 years old, is to work for WWE. And I kind of got out of that when I was in PCW for a while. I really did switch my focus, and I wanted PCW to be my goal. I wanted it to be my career. I wanted to make it something really viable and really strong and prominent and all these other words. But it's just, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. But again, I'm very proud of everything I did in professional wrestling. But I do want to work for WWE, and it's a long shot. It really is. It's 1 in a million. And when I say work for WWE, I don't necessarily mean as a wrestler, although I still feel like I could go out there and perform at a very high level, if I put the time in it and started training again, but it's just not in the cards right now. Oh, there's that again. But I do want to go back to school. God, stop saying Mitch. You have to do it, bro. You're going to die if you say again. Okay. So I want to go back to school, pursue communications, possibly be a writer. It's definitely something that's in my mind. Being a writer for WWE would be a dream come true. At the end of the day, I'm more of a storyteller than a athletic pro wrestler. I could go on a rant all day about where pro wrestling's going. Is it even storytelling anymore? Or is it just athleticism that the people want? I mean, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I want to be a storyteller. And there's no better way to tell stories than to literally write the stories. So to write, to be a writer for WWE would be an amazing dream. So that's something that's in my mind as I go back to school. Also going back to school, something that might even help people more and that I really might end up doing because my heart's kind of telling me this is probably what I should do, is major in psychology and become a youth counselor. Because a lot of people may not know this about me, but I was a very troubled kid. Lots of trouble. I lived in the principal's office. It was my second home. My poor mom had to deal with so much of my behavior. I was just completely out of control. No dad, anger, yada, yada, yada. Bottom line is, I just feel like I might be able to help some kids that are going through something similar. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going back to school in January. I want to focus on that. I am going to be working as well. I want to focus on that. And I just might have to take a little step back here from doing shows, guys. I don't know how many people are going to be devastated, but it does hurt me a little bit to think of this. I've been, doing shows for 13 years, whether it be pro wrestling, comedy. Shows are what I know as in my adult life. Like, I live and die from my next show. So to think that, 2019 is coming and I might be taking a little step back from doing that, it messes with my mind a little bit, but I need to understand that change is good and change is necessary. So to take a step back in 2019 and maybe not do any comedy or and not do any wrestling, I have no plans on doing professional wrestling in 2019, which will be the first calendar year. If I can make it through the whole calendar year of 2019, it'll be the first year I haven't been involved in a wrestling show, since I was a 17, 18-year-old child, or adolescent, not an adolescent, but a young man. Basically since I'm 18, I've been doing wrestling shows and comedy shows, and wrestling has obviously dominated my life. And so yeah, we'll see what happens in 2019. I think that I can go the whole year focused on school, focused on work, focused on my family. That's where I'm at right now. So I just wanted to get that out there. I wanted to say that, December 23rd at the Punchline in Sacramento may very well be my last show for a while. And what a way to go out. I'm so excited. I really am. I'm going to bring my A game December 23rd at the Punchline in Sacramento. Frank the Tank is the guy putting it on. He's the guy that booked me, and I just really, really like him and respect him and think he's hilarious. So I'm honored to do it. It could be my swan song for a while. I just want to let everybody know, if you can come out and support, that'd be great. I know Sacramento's a little bit of a drive, depending on where you're at, but if you want to see me get up there and embarrass myself one more time, December 23rd is going to be the night that I do that. And who knows what the future holds, but I'll tell you what, I'm real excited to be doing this show. I'm going to continue to do this show right here as much as I can. I mean, it might be once a month. I might go, I don't even know, guys. I might drop 2 a month. I might every other month. I mean, it really just depends on what you want, what the numbers look like. If you guys want this show, if you want more of this show, I'll give you more of this show. But right now, I'm just doing this because I love it. And I appreciate everyone that's listening to the show. I really do. I hope you can share it. I hope you can like it and comment on it and just help this thing grow. As far as the social media goes, I've got a whole litany of social media, so I'll go ahead and break that down for you here. Let's start with Facebook, all right? We got Team Valentine on Facebook. That's where you can really find a lot of my wrestling. I post every Thursday. I'll post a TBT, a Throwback Thursday, matches and promos and stuff, so you can really keep up on maybe some wrestling if you want to watch that. Also got Mitch Marketing on Facebook. I just get on there, guys. I post events that maybe have my friends involved in or I'm involved in, and I just try to help people and share events on that page, really, is what Got Mitch Marketing's all about. And of course, there's Pro Championship Entertainment, which maybe some of you guys are like, well, what's going to happen to Pro Championship Entertainment? Well, this is Pro Championship Entertainment right here. Mitch Please is a Pro Championship Entertainment production. So Pro Championship Entertainment will live through this show, no doubt. And I don't know when I'll book another live event for PCE, but I'm very proud of, I did a dozen shows, dozen PCE shows, in Paradise, in Chico, and in Oroville. I'm very, very proud of that. They were all profitable, successful events, and they were all done basically by me. I mean, I booked comedians and things, but, those shows were all done through my hard work and my sweat, and I'm so proud of that, guys. Like, I really am. I really am proud of everything that I've been able to do, and everyone that's supported it or been a part of it in any way. I'm really appreciative of you, because you will live on in history. So, Pro Championship Entertainment on Facebook, of course. Also on Twitter, you can find at PCE since 2015. You can find it at PCE since 2015 on Instagram. I myself am on Instagram and Twitter at HeartbreakerMV. And of course, Mitch Please on Facebook, the podcast, facebook.com/Mitch Please Podcast. You can find every episode there. You can find every episode on Castbox, which is a fantastic app. Seriously, if you guys listen to podcasts, download the Castbox app. You can find every podcast you like, including this one, which is your favorite, right? And Also, youtube.com/TheMitchValentine. So much content on there. I think we're over 200 videos. I want to get that subscriber count up, so please subscribe to that channel. And just share, guys. I mean, really, it doesn't take time. It takes a couple seconds to just share what I'm doing. I'll share what you're doing. And that's how this life has to work. We all have to help each other out. So let's do that. Let's help each other out. And let's make dreams happen. And let's kick it over right now to the Keep Chico Weird talent show that Kyle Bowen won with this performance right here.
Not only can he knock you dead, but he can bomb you. Kyle Bowen.
Yeah, Kyle! Poetry. Because it's time for some motherfucking culture. Like all poetry that's inspirational, it's about fucking. Pain confronts pleasure. First, there was the pleasure in nature's form. Meet the newlyweds, still deeply in love and in lust, still exploring the other. It began just another evening at home, dinner in front of the news. Then a casual touch alights upon an innocently placed erogenous zone. Words cease. Television unheard. Eyes communicate passion. Silent lips express desire. And then she is in my arms. I carry my bride to the boudoir. And unoiled mattress springs declare our love to the neighborhood. Yes! That was the pleasure. And the pain? From what unexpected source shall the pain enter the open bedroom door? A trespasser, armed and dangerous to terrorize the loving couple coupling, like a slasher film, like a campfire story, unseen at the portal, quiet feet past the threshold. The pain has arrived. Enter now the cat. Kitten, really? Enjoying the adolescence of its femininity, and in the manner of its kind, it possesses a philosophy. If something moves, attack it. And here we're unsuspecting targets. My wife and I enjoyed each other this time in the fashion taught to the world by the Mission Fathers. So my feet pointed downward, extended beyond the edge of the bed, moving as a result of our exertions, ripe for kitten plunder. In the midst of my ecstasies, not yet ultimate though, far past the point of no return, there came a vicious and unforeseen attack upon my right foot. Needle claws and razor kitten teeth sunk deep into my flesh as fur enwrapped my extremity. This was not hit and run. The kitten meant to stay for the ride. One pussy held my foot. The other, my manhood, and while I praised God, the roles were not reversed. Yes, sir. I knew this could not stand, for our love was too progressed. Nor could I tell my beloved of my predicament, for she would laugh, and we would remain unsatisfied. Thus, I could not stop my thrusting hips, but the cat must go. As my pelvis did its duty, my foot began to shake, to fly, to gyrate. Any attempt to get off the forgetting cat, but it ducking ever deeper, entrenching, fortifying, and enjoying the game. This was not what I had in mind when I fantasized the menage a trois. Until, finally, pain and pleasure peaked. My joy and duty done, I turned, murder in my eyes, to dispatch the cat. But its predator instincts warned it of its peril, and it fled the room to hide. I sat back on the bed, rubbed my sore foot, and looked down at my beloved. She, glassy-eyed and afterglow, looked up at me with affection and murmured, "Where did you learn that?" And so, I did not tell her of our furry-fanged interloper, and her regard for my virility renewed and redoubled, and she regaled me with such appellations as Stud Muffin and the One. Our love continued for some years. My wounded foot healed, as did my undeserved ego soon deflate to a more appropriate proportion. And the cat survived to venerable old age, because forever after, we kept the door to the bedroom closed.